Richard Dawkins, in his book, The Selfish Gene, talks about why the human mind is wired the way that it is wired. And he specifically talks about trial and error. And I'd like to read to you something that he says. He says that the survival machines, and he's referring to us as human beings, that can assimilate the future are one step ahead of survival machines who can only learn on the basis of over trial and error. The trouble with over trial that takes time and energy, and the trouble with over error is that it's often fatal. Simulation is both safer and faster, and the evolution of the capacity to simulate seems to have culminated in the subject consciousness. Now, I think this is an incredible, valuable quote that we can learn from. And the reason for that is simply the moment that we've got the ability to actually see in the future, in other words, to simulate the future and to experience the future, then we do not need to go through trial and error, because it simply takes too much time, it takes too much energy, and it can be fatal. If we look in South Africa at all the new businesses that start, we're going to find that 80% will fail within the first 5 years. And 80% of the remaining 20% will fail over the next 5 years, in other words, 10 years from now. In other words, 96% failure rate. Now, how on earth do we get around that? It's actually very simple. We simulate the future. And this is exactly what I've done in 1987 when I developed the Property Pro investment system, the software program, the analytical tool that I'm using. Now, what do I mean with that? We can literally see what's going to happen in the future. In other words, we can predict the future 5, 10, and 20 years ahead of us. And by doing that, it means that I can tell you today with a high predictability what is going to happen with that investment in the future. And that puts you immediately in a situation where you can simulate 2 or 3 or 10 or 100 properties and pick the best one today. And that's exactly what I did in 1987 when I developed this program, because I looked at 133 properties before I bought my first property. Because by looking at the 133 properties, I picked the one property, just one, that would put me in a far better position than any other property. And that is the power that I think Dawkins refers to, is that we do have the ability. The same with the money-making machine, the same with the wealth creator strategy. If you know what you need to do at what level, then everything becomes like a science. And a science is when you do certain things in a certain way to get a certain outcome, you know that you're busy with the science. And if you've got 100% predictability of the outcome, in other words, that you can start a business with no money, and each and every time that you start a business, you don't need money, and you get it in a profit in less than a month, then you know that you are simulating something that's going to happen in the future in today and take it through the strategy. And that's the reason why I've basically developed the strategy and the formula for riches. Right. And by the way, I did not develop it to benefit you. It was purely selfish reasons when I developed this in 1987. I had no intention whatsoever to ever share this information with anyone. That only happened after a severe depression in 2002, when Tanya said to me, "You can't keep this information to yourself. You need to go and share that. You know, if you retire at 37 and there's nothing basically else for you to do, the chances are that you're going to become depressed, because we as humans are there to help, to contribute, to share." And that was basically the universe's way to show me that I should take this information and share it with as many people as possible. And that's the reason why I'm doing this. Now, there's a trick behind this, and that is that we need to be disciplined enough to do the right things at the right time, but consistently. The trick is not to do the right thing once and think that it's going to work. It takes that practice in order to convert this that we're busy with into a habit, into, like I say, or like to think in terms of a success habit. And once you've got the success habit, then the rest is going to become to be easy. And to me, by investing in property, it's really easy, because I know that the system works, and I do have the ability to literally simulate the future. And that is basically what I want from you, and that I'd like to offer you and like to give you, is to be in a position where, through your business or through your investment, your property investment, that you can simulate the future and say, this is what's going to happen. This is why I could take the 5 cents, turn the 5 cents into a couple of millions, and take a portion of that, convert that into a property, because I know the outcome of the property, and then convert the property into the Mercedes principle, where you can grow your assets, where you can secure your assets, and where you can enjoy assets, or perhaps not the same asset, but where that asset has got the ability to give you that you want. For example, a brand new car. Okay, so what is it that we are doing, and why do we do it? What is one way of doing that? Is to establish a habit. At the moment, I'm sharing with you my journey for at least 90 days on a day-to-day basis to get my heart rate, and that's all, for at least half an hour over 120. Now, it seems easy, but it's a challenge. Why don't you give it a go? So let's go to the TomTom. Today, the total amount of time that I've spent in the gym was just over 31 minutes, and my heart rate 132. So I can say today's the 8th day in a row that I've been doing that. But I hope that you see what I'm busy with, and this is my challenge to you. Why don't you take something that seems to be easy, but on a consistent basis over a period of time, you know it's going to be a serious challenge. And set that challenge for yourself. And that is basically to train, let's call it the mental muscle, so that you can stick to whatever you set to yourself. And by doing that, if you can add to that a method or a strategy where you can simulate the future, I promise you that your future is going to be an incredible future. So I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow, and maybe give me some feedback and tell me if this is helping you or if it's not helping you, if I should continue with this, and how can this benefit you, and what challenges are you prepared to take. See you then tomorrow.